All right, let's dive right into this explainer, and I want you to bring your full energy for this one, because we are about to demystify a truly, absolutely bizarre phenomenon. Think about this. Every single night, over 8 billion people on Earth willingly enter a state where they are completely paralyzed, totally lose control, and basically drift through vivid hallucinations for hours, only to wake up and forget almost the whole shebang. I mean, it sounds exactly like a sci-fi movie, right? But it's actually a highly orchestrated, deeply necessary biological routine happening right inside your sleeping brain. Now, this seemingly helpless state, it's actually a massive superpower. Take a couple of wild historical moments. Back in 1862, there was a chemist who was completely, hopelessly stuck trying to map out the structure of benzene. Out of pure frustration, he falls asleep, hallucinates snakes biting their own tails, and boom, he wakes up with the answer and modern chemistry is changed forever. Or how about Paul McCartney? The guy literally woke up from a deep sleep with the legendary melody for the song Yesterday just fully formed in his head. While you're fast asleep, your brain is actively solving complex problems by just completely tossing out the usual rules of waking logic. To really understand how this works, we kind of have to visit a scientific crime scene. Picture this. It's 1952, in a laboratory at the University of Chicago. Up until this point, the absolute consensus was that when we sleep, the brain just powers down, shuts off like a light bulb. But this researcher, Eugene Aserinsky, hooks up electrodes to sleeping volunteers and discovers the exact mind-blowing opposite. After a few hours of calm, their brains suddenly lit up on the monitors like a Christmas tree, firing exactly as if they were awake and solving calculus. Meanwhile, their eyeballs started darting back and forth furiously under their closed eyelids. And just like that, rapid eye movement, or REM sleep, had been discovered.
And that discovery? It basically maps out the architecture of our entire night. You see, you don't just dream randomly. Your brain is strapped into a very strict 90-minute roller coaster called the sleep cycle. So, first, you dip into light sleep. That's NREM 1 and 2, where, a tiny noise can easily wake you up. Then, you plunge straight down into the deep sleep of NREM 3, which is dominated by these massive, slow delta waves. This is the crucial maintenance phase. Your body is repairing tissue, building muscle, doing all the heavy physical lifting. But once that's done, the roller coaster shoots right back up into REM sleep, the vivid, intense, absolute entertainment phase of the night.
And when that roller coaster hits REM, your brain triggers 4 extreme, almost unbelievable biological changes to basically build a high-end virtual reality movie theater right inside your skull. We're talking complete paralysis, incredibly realistic hallucinations, a total 100% disappearance of waking logic, and finally, a localized memory wipe. So let's quickly break down exactly why your body undergoes this massive transformation every single night.
First up, let's talk about the complete paralysis, or what I like to call the MMA dreamer scenario. Your brainstem sends out it's basically a powerful chemical lockdown signal to your major muscles. And this is an absolutely brilliant safety mechanism from nature. Think about it. Without this physical lockdown, if you dreamed you were fighting for your life in an MMA ring, you would literally swing your arms and punch whoever happens to be sharing a bed with you. Without paralysis, our dreams would turn into real-life disasters.
Next, we have the logic shutdown, paired with those intense visual hallucinations. And this perfectly illustrates why riding a giant chicken to go buy bubble tea feels completely normal while you're asleep. Your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for reasoning, judgment, self-control, it just suddenly takes a break. It goes mostly offline. Meanwhile, your visual cortex lights up like crazy, making the images so vivid that seeing with your imagination literally feels more real than actual eyesight. You just accept the absolute absurdity, totally unquestioned.
Finally, the system initiates memory wipe mode. During REM sleep, the chemicals you need to actually form long-term memories, specifically norepinephrine, they drop to incredibly low levels. Your brain is essentially looking at this chaotic, completely illogical VR simulation and deciding, yeah, we definitely don't need to save this to the hard drive. It just hits delete. Which is exactly why, just 10 minutes after your alarm goes off, the details of your bizarre, epic adventure have completely evaporated.
Section 1. The historical suspects, decoding the mind before brain scans. You have to remember, for thousands of years before we had fMRI scans, humanity still had to make some kind of sense out of this nightly movie theater. And the historical contrast is fascinating. The ancient Egyptians, they didn't think dreams came from the human brain at all. They fully believed they were direct messages from the gods, basically a weather forecast for your fate. And oddly enough, dreaming of dying horribly was actually considered a fantastic omen for a long life. But jump forward to the year 1900, and Sigmund Freud pulls dreams right back into the human mind. He argued there were the royal road to the unconscious, this disguised symbolic playground where the brain let us act out all our embarrassing, forbidden urges that we'd never dare express while awake.
Then you have Freud's student Carl Jung, who took the idea a massive step further. Jung believed our dreams were packed with the shared, universal symbols of all humanity. We're talking deep archetypes, like the hero or the monster. For Jung, dreams were simply the mind's way of achieving psychological balance. And for a very long time, the entire world looked at dreams purely through this specific lens, as secret, deeply coded messages just waiting to be deciphered.
Section 2. The Interrogation, Modern Science, and fMRI Scans. Once neuroscientists were finally able to peer inside the sleeping brain with modern tech, they largely stopped asking, what do these dreams mean, and started asking a much more brutal, survival-focused question. Why on earth did evolution keep this energy-consuming, highly risky mechanism in the first place? Out of that shift, 5 prevailing scientific theories emerged. First, activation synthesis, which suggests the brain is basically just panicking, trying to stitch random electrical signals into a cohesive story. Then, memory consolidation, which argues REM is the brain's save button. Threat simulation views dreams as a VR survival training room. Social simulation says we're practicing social stress. And finally, the creativity theory, which explains how a totally logic-free brain can solve immense problems way outside the box.
To put all that science into a relatable perspective, think of your sleeping brain as a mashup of a hyper-organized librarian and a high-stakes VR simulator. The librarian is working in the background, cleaning up a messy pile of information. It's actually practicing that tough 3D maze you tried to learn earlier in the day so you're better at it tomorrow. Meanwhile, the VR simulator is throwing you into a wild chase with an ancient saber-toothed tiger so you can practice your split-second survival reflexes. Or, it's forcing you to give a public speech in front of a crowd without your pants on, just so you can practice handling intense social rejection from the total safety of your bed.
Section 3. The Plot Twist, the brutal reality of neuroplasticity. Okay, so here is where the story completely flips. Neuroscientist David Eagleman introduced a concept that totally revolutionizes our view of the brain, and it revolves around one frankly terrifying number: 40 to 60 minutes. See, the brain is highly plastic. That means its different regions are constantly, ruthlessly competing for territory, almost like rival nations on a map. Experiments have proven that if you are completely blindfolded, it takes only 40 to 60 minutes, less than an hour, for your auditory and touch cortexes to actually start invading and taking over the visual cortex. The brain absolutely, under no circumstances, allows any area to sit idle.
Now take that concept and imagine our ancient ancestors sleeping in pitch-black caves for 8 to 10 hours a night, with zero visual input coming in. Their visual cortex was incredibly, dangerously vulnerable to being conquered by hearing and touch. You could literally wake up with degraded vision. So evolution had to fight back. Enter the defensive activation theory. This is the mind-blowing idea that the brainstem fires intense bursts of visual images directly into the visual cortex during sleep, purely to keep it busy and fend off a hostile takeover from the other senses.
So in this view, dreams are essentially a biological screensaver. Just like your old computer monitor used to keep pixels moving around to prevent a static image from permanently burning in, your brainstem keeps your visual cortex flooded with bizarre, non-stop images every 90 minutes. It's loudly signaling to the rest of the brain, "Hey, I'm still working here. Do not take over my territory." Under this theory, dreams aren't necessarily magical hidden messages. They might just be a brutally practical territorial battle happening inside your skull.
So, what's the verdict? Which theory is actually right? Well, the most honest answer from the scientific community right now is probably all of them. Evolution is the ultimate multi-tool. It very likely created dreams as a basic primitive screensaver just to protect our vision in the dark. But over millions of years, the brain upgraded that exact same mechanism. It put it to work to process complex memories, simulate physical threats, handle deep emotional trauma, and fuel the kind of completely unhinged human creativity that can write a hit song or discover a chemical structure. So tonight, when you lie down, close your eyes, and feel your body lock into that nightly paralysis, I want you to ask yourself this. What was your brain actually fighting for in last night's weird movie? Whether you were desperately outrunning a monster, grabbing bubble tea with a giant chicken, or simply protecting your own eyesight from a hostile neural takeover, you really just have to stand in absolute awe of the vast, incredibly mysterious universe operating inside your own skull every single night.